Very good question, student. Well done.
Thank you, thank you.
Choking. Because when I ran through this, there was more time allowed in the presentation, so I thought I'd add this in because this is quite common. So children have quite funny airways. They're different to adults. Adult airways are quite straight. So this ironically is an adult airway. Children's airways are funnel shaped, which is why they, in your NCT class, have been going on about like as they grow up, like grapes, you must cut them, and marbles and things are really dangerous because they'll go to a certain point and then they'll get wedged in a funnel, and you have problems. So choking. What is choking? I'm sure I don't need to tell you, but it's an occlusion of the airway structures. Usually the upper airway is actually not as much of a problem if it was a lower airway obstruction because your trachea bifurcates, it splits at a certain point. But while it's in a single track, it's an obstruction of that, disastrous. It will 100% lead to cardiac arrest if it's left untreated. And that's that hypoxic episodes that we're talking about. So they are medical emergencies.
So what does hypoxic?
Hypoxic means lack of oxygen.
Oh.
So as if there was an airway obstruction, they can't breathe, all of the tissues start lacking oxygen, and the most important tissues obviously are in the heart and the brain. And so eventually the heart will stop because it needs oxygen to respire. Like the cells need it to respire, produce energy and do their job. Cut the oxygen supply off, eventually the jobs will stop working. They'll just stop. So, very important. So, the treatment for choking is a bit brutal, to be honest, but I think it's important to practice because if you ever have to do it in anger, you don't want to be doing it gently. So, essentially, that check that we just did, exactly the same principle. So, not going to we don't have to go back through the airway checks and all that stuff. But you would, oh, he's not waking up, what's going on? Or they're awake and they look terrified, which is even worse. And you have a look, and if you can't see anything, you can't hear anything, but they were recently playing with marbles, or there is a universal sign, believe it or not, for choking, which is hand on throat like this, or they've got partial obstruction, so you'll hear like a high-pitched stridorous kind of scream, like a screechy squeal sort of noise. That's an indication that there's a partial obstruction. And any of the above, you have to be pretty quick. And so say you're like, oh god, something's not right. You position your arm on the baby's front and take their mouth on the hand like that, and you literally flip them over onto your arm. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. You want to see that? The baby's like this. You just go, around the face and jaw, and then onto your arm. And then it's just a series of back blows. So you should give up to 5. Usually 1 or 2 is enough, but it's a harsh blow. So you've got to support the baby, you've got to hold their airway, and it's a really hard blow with this part of your hand. And it would, to the point that you would, if you would, like, you'd think you're doing almost going to hurt them. It's a really firm blow. You'll see why in a second. When I show you, there's 2 videos which kind of go into a bit of detail about it, but you're trying to create a really sudden exhalation kind of breath with a bit of vibration, and you'll feel it. It's a real, because it's a big thump, you get a big sort of shudder in the chest and an expiration of air, and that's enough usually to dislodge it. So 5 of those, boom, 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 boom. You need to check, and if it hasn't worked, you flip them back over, and this is that same technique, except here it's called chest thrusts. It's exactly the same technique. You can do like that or like that. It's the same thing, and that links back to that change in pressure in the lungs, which causes an expiration of gas from the lungs, which hopefully dislodges it. These videos will help that make a lot more sense. He says, if I'm on your Wi-Fi, which I'm probably not. Oh, that's a shame. I'll show you them another time, but we'll go through it anyway.
You want on Wi-Fi?
It'll take too long probably. I've only got... I'll sort it in the background.
Put it on the WhatsApp.
I'll put it in the WhatsApp. Give me 2 seconds and I'll get it on here. While it's loading, that'll be fine. So I'm going to go through and we'll still push through and do some practice while that's working. Okay, so the technique again, exactly the same primary survey check, which you don't have to redo because you've all done it. But you would at this point identify either a partial obstruction, or they're doing the universal sign, or they've got that weird screechy noise because they've got a partial obstruction. Hand on the front, flip them onto your arm, and then with them facing a little bit downwards, so you've got a tiny bit of gravity helping you, you're supporting them, and then it's just 5 sharp, firm back blows right between the shoulder blades. If that doesn't work, back onto their back, and 5. They call them chest thrusts. They're the same technique. You don't have to learn 2 techniques. It's the same technique, just with a different title. And then you keep checking. Again, at the point, if you think back all the way back to here, at the point at where response is compromised, you're calling 999 anyway. If you forgot that and you hear it, you think they've got an air problem, you can still call, obviously, but at that point of identifying a problem, you need to be calling anyway. If the foreign object was dislodged and you've called an ambulance, absolutely fine. Leave them running. Just let them run, because what you've done, giving them a big back blow and potentially doing stress questions, they need to be assessed. So you don't need to cancel. Cool. Jamie, do some back blows.
Oh.
I'm going to very quickly get this on here, which I think I'm on, which is good.
You don't normally have all the wires.
Yeah, the wires are a bit of a bonus.
Alright.
Yeah. Poor baby, it does have a bit of a tough time.
Then you just repeat.
Yeah, you just keep going until. And the thing is, with what you're doing, as soon as the baby physically can, it will cry. So you'll have a really nice heads up. That,
Massive scream when it finally
yeah,
breathes.
exactly.
A bit of ash noise.
See, this is what I needed to know for body.
No, I'm glad you didn't know this for budget, because he wasn't actually joking.
He was.
Right, here you go. I'm going to show you this quickly. It's not. Now it's not going on the screen.
Can we see it on your screen?
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll just go to it. This will be 10 times easier. Okay, so.
Giving back blows. Ready? Open wide. Let me check. Okay. Alright, that knows what to do.
You see, onto the arm.
Giving back blows creates a strong vibration and pressure in the airway, which is often enough to dislodge the blockage in a baby who is choking. Dislodging the object will allow them to breathe again. Ensure you support their head while you hold them in this position.
Does that all make sense? That's just the back blows.
Alright.
I don't know how they managed to get a child to actually be in that video.
Back to that.
Yeah.
Stuffy marbles down.
Yeah.
That's fine.
It's very, very good. And then just the other technique is this one.
Ready? Open wide. Let me check. Okay.
No, it's the
Alright, that
second
knows
one.
what to do. Giving back blows creates a strong vibration and pressure in the airway, which is often enough to dislodge the blockage in a baby who is choking. Dislodging the object would...
One. And this one. Chest thrusts.
Chest thrusts squeeze the air out of the baby's lungs and may dislodge the blockage in a baby who is choking. Dislodging the object will allow the baby to breathe again.
So generally the back thrusts are the ticket.
Because you've got gravity.
Gravity is actually more forceful. Yeah. But mixing it up is also a lot of the time the movement of the baby also helps. So that's why they get you to keep changing technique, and you just alternate the 2 techniques. Cool. No signal. I don't know what that means.
That's because there's no aerial plugged in. But
Where's the buttons?
Hey guys, back now.
There you go. Good. Cool. So I don't know if it's actually there. You go. So we've gone through that. You've gone through that. Did you order it?
No.
There you go.
The reason is that
Ah. So you get the idea with the how forceful that is.
what's really
Yeah. So good. Give it a little bit more time between there, because you're getting it so fast. It probably might come out and slap one,
So, yeah.
and you're just giving it another 4 for good measure. So it's like it should take over 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you might put that.
Okay.
So you don't have to,
Try not to panic.
try not to panic. and you've got to do the
Yeah.
chest thrust is the same sort of principle, but it's just this idea of moving the baby from forearm onto flat. So the big difference between CPR and the chest thrust is the baby has to be on a hard surface for CPR, but this you could in theory do it on your lap as he did.
Yeah.
The abdominal thrust, the chest thrust are usually done not on a hard surface.
Hold
So
baby.
hold
like
baby,
that.
support the head and jaw,
Head and jaw.
a little bit of head down,
Head down.
and then right to your shoulder blades. It's a really
It is.
like it should feel unnatural
Yeah.
to do that to a baby.
Yeah.
If you're like, oh, I'm probably not. If you think it's, it wouldn't hurt it, then you're not doing it hard enough. Should dislodge it.
Okay.
And mother. My teeth.
Put it down, down.
Yeah, so head down,
Yeah.
legs at either side. So it will sit naturally quite nicely
Yeah.
on that. And you can see, everyone can see that she's doing the head's flopping. That's why that pinning that jaw is really important, so they're not flopping around.
Okay.
Yeah, and then back down. And it's not like a movie, it won't expel and go across the room and stick to a window. It might literally just end up in the back of the throat, and that's why that ability to check an airway and look what's in